we of course have the thing that is a lot more fun to talk about, and that is the upcoming content for World of Warcraft in Steve Danuser's Eternals. The latest thing coming out from Blizzard.
Yeah, no, I still haven't watched the movie, but from a couple of people I've heard, this is a very, very, an actually entirely fair thing to say about the World of Warcraft and the Eternals.
I have absolutely no idea. But hey, I opened the doc and here it was, and I guess it's a funny. So there we go. There's our funny. We've now all ingested our funny, digested our funny, and let's have a look. So, as a part of this data mining, we have learned a good deal more about this patch. Certainly a few interesting items. Certainly a few interesting ones. So, our big raid is the Sepulchre of the First Ones. We know what our bosses are. We have Solitary Guardian. This Eternal Guardian lies in wait while its subsystems keep vigil over the entrance to the Sepulchre of the First Ones. We then have...
Deus Agni.
Deus Agni. Maybe it's not that. The Fallen Oracle. So, there you go. Oracle of some sort. We have Artificer Zymox again. I mean, hey, Zymox. That was a fun fight. Now... we also have Anima 2, Super Anima, Inferia.
Ephemera.
Ephemera, yes.
You know,
so
ephemeral.
Whoops, I'm stupid. So yes, Zymox and his most loyal associates caught wind of the Forerunner's relic, an ancient progenitor artifact said to be the key to weaponizing Ephemera. I love keys. To defeat Azeroth's heroes this time, Zymox must unlock the power of the Forerunner relic during the encounter to turn the deal in his favor. Hey, look, Zymox, it was fun last time, probably fun this time. Prototype Pantheon. That's it, you know, the 3D printer did a good job, but it kind of fucked up halfway through, and we have a weird half of a Winter Queen. We'll get to that. The images are down below. There's certainly some thoughts there. We've got Skolex, the insatiable Ravener. Just ravening about.
Just raven.
We've got
raven everywhere.
Halondrus, the Reclaimer, who's been traversing the caverns of the Sepulchre, fulfilling the sacred purpose of reclaiming Ephemera and returning it to the Great Cycle. So I guess we have Ephemera as Super Anima, and then Anima's... yeah, whatever. We've got Livium, the Principal Architect. With great care, Livium weaves Ephemera into being in accordance with the hallowed will of the First Ones, because... you know, you need at least 17 new concepts per patch. Yeah. Then, of course, we have Anduin Wrynn. I think we know who that is. We've got the Lords of Dread, who's, you know, Mal'Ganis and his buddies. We've got Rygelon, which I assume is some sort of probably big, interesting First Ones person.
Is that not our Constellar?
Oh, that's the Constellar. Good point. Yeah. So, hey, fighting a Constellar as a penultimate boss. That's pretty cool. And then we got Zoval at the end. Now, as for Dakor's little call-out box... I feel like it's worth engaging with.
Absolutely.
It's the sort of thing where I think if you were to show this to the WoW team, they'd be like, hey, but we've been doing it like this for years and you're not angry. Yeah. So I think it's worth engaging with that because they're just continuing on as normal. So I don't think it's super fair to mega bash them. It's more just, you know, hey, what if? And also it's very important to note that who knows? We could know most of these characters after the initial storyline. In the same way with, you know, Big Monkey Fella in, I've forgotten his name, in Dazara Lore. Yeah. Like, that was actually really...
that was great.
That was great. You got him in the Covenant campaign, or not the Battle War campaign of fighting.
The Battle War campaign, yes.
Yes, the Battle War campaign.
The fighty campaign, the fighty. Yeah.
That's it, the skiving about with Shaw campaign. Yeah. But that was a nice little set of quests. And then he's a boss in the raid, and you feel like, oh, that's actually a little tragic story of mankind manipulating with nature and being bastards. It was nice. I really liked it. So they could do it with these characters. But as he says, yes, bosses I most certainly know the name and background of, having been built up all the way through the expansion, this epic culmination of the Warcraft saga TM. Who could forget the likes of Skolex and Livium? Damn, those guys are rascals.
Lehuvim.
Big Hoover. Yeah. So, that's Dakor's point. And I'm going to say, during Legion, would we have said this about your man, the Finder of the Souls in Antorus, or Goroth? No, we'd be just like, oh, it's Goroth, it's the first boss. You know, whatever, who gives a shit? I think what's maybe more happened here is, maybe other games in the market and stuff are just making people think a bit more about story and therefore be a little bit more critical. I think this is par for the course for World of Warcraft, so I don't really think I'd flag it up as a specific concern. I would more say to Blizz, if they could find a way of, rather than being like 9.0, big jump 9.1, big jump 9.2, they could probably take their story a bit slower and build up that enemy cast of characters a bit more.
I mean, I think it's also because people are just kind of aware that things are happening far too fast. Like this, like Ephemera, they're clearly planning something with Ephemera in some capacity. Likely a minor thing, but they're introducing it as a new concept. And as as Val the Jane said, I still love the comment from the announcement video. Oh boy, Zareth Mortis! I've wanted to go there ever since 30 minutes ago when I found out it existed. So it's like that's the same thing carrying through here, where they're like, here, please care about this. We're like, you haven't given us a reason to care about any of these things, any of these places, any of these people. So you need to. It would be better overall if you could start doing that. Not to say it's like, oh well, I guess I just sort of disagree with this as part of the course, so we should sort of maybe not criticize it. If people are kind of going that way.
That's true. I suppose I'm just trying to like prioritize the I think it's just what you were saying there. I think it's what's this? Interesting, a little dot just fell from me.
A dot?
Yeah, like a little circle.
Nice.
Where'd that come from? Wow. Just circles.
It's falling apart.
There we go. So a wee speck of anima.
Yeah.
It came off.
Ephemera maybe.
Yeah. No, it's that thing. I think they tried to go so fast.
Yeah.
And really sort of jump to all this, and I think they basically decided to bootstrap everyone caring about the jailer by retroactively being like, oh yeah, he was pulling that string and this string and that string and this thread. And I think people are like, well, okay, that's a factoid, but I don't feel it. And that's maybe why we're having that, because actually Zareth Mortis was talked about at the end of patch 9.1. It just seems that people who don't read Wowhead or watch our videos basically just don't know. But it was there. It's just, it's a little bit of dialogue and it's dropping a little hint, but it's not a like, this is a thing people will feel. I mean, alternatively, like whenever Illidan does his business with the Sargerite Keystone, and it's like, it's so obvious we're going to Argus now. That was a very cool thing of like, oh, fuck, there it is.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened to Zareth Mortis. So I actually, I think if they had have done something such at the very end of this raid, you felt Zareth Mortis, you felt it.
Yeah.
Something big, cool, something visual happened, something sonic happened.
Yeah, like
you felt it with your senses. Yeah. Then I think we wouldn't have had those comments and it probably would have worked out a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I guess the problem largely is. They were likely thinking about Zareth Mortis and trying to put the final things in a little bit, because that was almost 6 months ago now. Or no, it was about 6 months ago where that build shipped. So they likely didn't really know what Zareth Mortis fully was, conceptually. So they couldn't do something really cool like have us follow Zoval through the portal and see what it is. And then, something happened on the other side of the portal and us go, oh, fuck, shit, we need to get out of here, regroup, come back later. But they were instead going, here's Sylvanas shooting an arrow at him. Which is obviously important to their plot and to their lore, of course. But it's like, if they had a little bit more, we would have maybe been able to see that. And then that would have been okay. We're like, okay, we now spend time wondering about this place versus, please care about our product.
Look, if the end of that raid was a 5 or 6 minute long cinematic that was followed up by, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, of epilogue content, things would be very different right now.
Of course.
So yeah, then Ephemera, it's just that sort of thing. I guess Ephemera is to Zareth Mortis and the engine room of the Shadowlands, as Anima is to the Shadowlands themselves, so that's something that's a little bit weird. Now, to talk about the more genuinely just cool, we do have the new raid. And the new raid, as always, it does look pretty gorgeous. Yep. It just looks cool. I like having all of this, the ancient tech, but it's all kind of like overgrown and everything. I think it looks really nice. I think this is a cool image. This reminds me almost, of so many things, but...
iRobot.
Well, did you ever play Alien Isolation?
No.
Whenever you're fighting the Weyland Yutani, robots, and they just have those, red eyes, and they're creepy and spooky, I think there's a level of spook that, I kind of like in this. And I actually think that overall, the takeaway with this is going to be Zoval, he was right, total dickhead, though.
Yeah.
Because all this shit seems spooky and fucked.
Yeah, they just need to actually take the time to convince us of that and have us empathize with them by showing this off, but I don't know if they'll have time to do this. I mean, obviously doing it by going, hey, this is all uncanny creation stuff, that'll maybe put the heebie-jeebies in us, maybe. But as to whether they'll follow through with that versus trying to make it seem cool and grandiose and epic, it's hard to say, but they're definitely getting what they want to across.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Like, so this seemingly here is part of the Endless Foundry, which is the intermission stage during the prototype Pantheon encounter, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Looking pretty cool. I mean, bloody hell.
Yeah, no, even looking
what a big, rich scene.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
even looking at the map for it, which I don't know if the map is here, but I was looking at the map and it's like, this is really well put together. Like, I can see all the different, like...
Next image is the big one.
Yeah, what was I going to say? It was the... like, there's some parts that are very technical, very mathematical. There's lots of, like, what almost is reminiscent of, like, a PCB. Very technological. There's a lot of little hexagons. There's a lot of little, like, what look like, fucking lines on a PCB. But then you go to another part, and it's all, like, sigils and magic stuff. I shouldn't have used the word sigils. But, it's all magic circles, so it looks very much like ancient and mythological magic stuff that you would find in, like, an occultist book. And I see that they've got all these different things going on. That's great, but...
So... skipped ahead there.
Yep.
Someone said like Ulduar palette swap. I wouldn't say that. I think it's really cool. I do think there's a little bit to what you're saying. We have had a lot of Titan-y ruins.
Yeah.
And I think the big question here is, how do the Titans actually connect to these first ones? Because we understand how the Pantheon of Death do. They came from the 3D printer. But we don't know about the Titans. Because if the Titans kind of came as world souls, then I suppose all this ephemera and anima and all of that stuff, is that actually what birthed the Titans themselves into existence? Because there's a Titan, everyone. That's her. That's Azeroth.
Is it?
I think that's Azeroth. Well, Azeroth is in this. There is an Azeroth globe in the raid and an Azeroth segment. Oh, hang on. See, that kind of looks like a continent. There. But the Azeroth, I mean, it is in this raid. Let's talk about 3D printing then. The thing that has people interested.
Interested, yes. Fantastic visual work. Looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it reminds me of Westworld. The bit where you see like prototype Dolores. Which, so visuals and that stuff, all cool. All cool. Kind of reminds me of the Forerunners at the light, right? The light shotgun in Halo. It was either Halo 4 or 5. And whenever it would kill people, they'd kind of like dissolve into little blocks of light. Yeah. It looks like that.
Yeah, little voxely stuff's been very popular.
Here he is.
Big Denny.
Big D himself.
Bit more...
but not really. Proto D.
Yeah, it's interesting how light they glow.
Yeah, so there's Nathrius. There's been talk about that. There's a few things that look almost Naru-like.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yep.
Here's the Winter Queen, of course, being of nature.
Looking well, except for the lines in her head. But
so, yeah, man, here she is. She's...
spinning around.
She's just came out of the printer,
Not really done around the midriff, but sure.
Yeah, just a ball, big energy ball. As always, the artists do great work. Got the Archon, of course, too. Got her there. We have got the Primus, who was, sort of born a big, powerful dude, I suppose.
Yeah,
and also...
imagine being born old.
Runes.
Yep.
So those ain't really his. They're just sort of a part of his design.
They came pre-installed.
And we got the Protobot model as well, if you want, honestly, a little bit of horror-y spook.
Yeah,
it's a cool model.
Yeah, it's like, so you think, oh, well, how is that horror-y? How is that spooky?
Just born unhappy.
Yeah, no, but
poor bastard.
Imagine one of these motherfuckers not saying a word, walking slowly while you hear robotic sound effects and like the Automa's little musical notes, just like little discordant versions of those one. Fucking creepy, like. But
yeah, so look, the thing here. It's like you can see how this technically is a neat idea. Because you're just like, where does a god come from if it's not the first layer of god? And, I suppose the more earthy version of it is two of the older gods banged and then their kids turned out to be the new gods. So this is more that this pantheon was created. Now, this is the sort of thing where... why did all of these characters blindly follow the purpose even though it clearly wasn't working? Because they were robots with programming? And this is the sort of question that people then wonder. Now, you'd also say, you look at a character like Odin. Well, how much of him is programming? How much of him is... It's Odin. He makes decisions. He's a dude. And we just don't really super know that. Yeah, and I suppose this just throws some of it into strife. It raises a few more questions.
Yeah, I feel very strongly about this.
You do feel very strongly about this.
especially when you look at how the Eternal Ones acted. There's basically like the whole point, like I'm talking about, change and them deciding not to use the Arbiter would be a great idea for them to go, okay, we'll shift things up because we've learned what we do is prone to failure. What we do doesn't work. This is the case where these people, especially with the Primus, he was born old. Like, he's born old, born with those runes. It removes any sense of character from any of these if they were born that way. Obviously, if they're created fairly old and then had experiences to show for it, that's okay. But as far as we understand, these because these are prototypes, obviously the Dungeon Journal says these are made by the progenitors for the jailer, but they're also called prototypes. And also in an interview it was said there was like there'd be 0.1 versions of the Eternals, so everything implies that these are prototypes, not the final versions. The final versions are the ones we saw, the ones that we know, but they're just not characters because nothing in the Shadowlands changed. They didn't have to do anything that we know about. So as far as we know, they could be basically fresh out of the printer in terms of experiences, in terms of pre-programming, their personalities pre-installed, versus these rich characters. Has the Primus fought 1,000 wars? Has he got a little notebook of all of his tactical decisions that went wrong and right to study where he's great? Or was that all pre-programmed into him by some intelligent design, by destiny?
So, I don't think so. I think this is merely the creation and the initial properties of these beings.
Yeah, but he's already old. He already has those runes, and we haven't seen any of that stuff go on.
I mean, I think they've probably done that partially for production reasons and for player readability. But I understand the issue.
Yeah, but combine that with the fact that the entirety of as far as I understand, like the themes of the Shadowlands as a society was stasis and being too rigid and not being able to change. And then you've got this whole massive problem of, by default, I now consider the Shadowlands characters to not be characters unless I've seen them do stuff. So it's just all of the mystery behind them is completely gone. And that's what you risk whenever you start to fire loads of intelligent design into your characters. You're like, well,
yeah,
it's the same thing as Destiny. It's the same thing as Preordained Fate, where it's like, well, you've just removed all personal agency. These people aren't making decisions. They're programmed to make decisions.
It is interesting whenever they deviate from their initial conditions and from their purpose, because that's them striking out from their own. And that's some of the potential we could have had with the Shadowlands if a bit more. Some of it has happened, but I'd like a bit more time to get into it.
Almost, if Carestia had said, no, fuck the Arbiter, we're going to set up a council. That would have been the kind of thing I'm fucking thinking about, what I'm talking about. But, and it's not even just this, it's the relationships to other characters. Because obviously, I don't really give a shit about these characters, but these four, whatever. Hopefully, we never see them again. Honestly speaking,
they're pretty lame.
Yeah,
but, I mean, okay, Danuser is a fun villain, but broadly, yeah. That said, probably not going to be the case because there's a loon who's going to have to come into all of this, and a bit of 9.1 dialogue that I think a lot of people missed because it's in the Night Fate campaign that helps. But go on ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the idea of a loon comes into this as another character. A loon's a Winter Queen's sister. But,
I mean, brother, sister, how are these words used? Because the Primus describes a loon as being the Winter Queen's counterpart in the plane of life. Now, that is going to mean, does that mean direct sisters? I actually don't really think so. I think there's probably a way that this life pantheon came to be that's maybe different.
Yes,
I mean, I doubt that there is a Zareth Mortis, a Zareth Latin for life, a Zareth Shadowiness, a Zareth Lightness. That would be a very boring way for the lore to go. I don't think they're going to do that. But this immediately had people going, oh, so it's a lunar robot too. And that, if you're big into the Night Elf lore and you're thinking about Anshe and Musha, and, isn't it Musha is the sort of Tauran name for a loon, probably, maybe. Isn't it? Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, and then Anshe is the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then is the sun also a god who came from a 3D printer? Probably not. But the issue is people aren't quite sure right now, and I think some of them are a little spooked. If you talk to a Tauran character and you're like, hello, you're actually worshipping, because
Anshe guide you.
Yeah, the Winter Queen is being framed as the other side of a loon, the one doing the sort of the Elune purpose. So it's not crazy to say that the Winter Queen is a sort of theologically a similar enough character, and then like if one of them can be a robot, it's another one. And these are just unfortunate questions to have floating around the lore. I mean, as I said, if a Tauren or a Night Elf found out that about Elune / Musha, they'd be a bit like, "You saying my god's a robot? Hello?"
Yeah, I mean that's
could be probably not going to be that, but an odd thing going on. And it's for me like the idea of this is, that's why I said earlier, it's like it's cool enough as an idea. I suppose they just have to be very careful about how they do it. Yeah. It just has to be that this was kind of the way that they were formed, but from that point of formation onwards, they were their own unique characters and stuff. And it's just that for an organic being, it ends up by whatever age having its personality, all those things sort of semi-crystallize, and then it moves forth, grows and changes. Maybe they got to that position in a different way, but they move forth and grow and change.
Yeah.
I think that is what Blizzard wants to do, actually.
Yeah, we just don't, as far as I'm concerned, we have almost no inclination of any nurture happened here. All of this is nature, and very recent nature. But it's like, it's implied to me when someone's old, it's implied that they have years of wisdom, but the Primus won't have years of wisdom, except the wisdom that'll be pre-programmed, which means it's artificial. Which means obviously they can get completely around all of this by just saying, no, these are copies being created by the printer on Zoval's demands. And everyone's like, sweet.
I think that probably is. That's it.
That's not what prototype means. It's not what saying a 0.01 version.
True.
It does if you think about it from just, hey, we're just going to talk broad strokes. Like, I think they maybe didn't expect people to see these and go, wait, does this mean all life is predestined and intelligently designed? So where's the agency? They probably weren't thinking about that when they thought, what's a cool boss design? So I'll give them that. Absolutely. But it's a kind of thing of, this is the problem when you get to the origins of stuff. You start to have players ask these questions, and then you have no real way out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We'll have to see. All I'll say is, I don't mean mechanistic as in very literally made of machines.
Yeah.
I mean mechanistic as in we are dealing with the mechanisms of the very way the universe works. I think the less Warcraft is that, the better. Because right now this is feeling a lot more sci-fi. I think maybe we haven't communicated the most precisely when we've said cosmic. When we say cosmic, we don't actually mean going to space. Yeah. We mean really what we mean is seeing the sort of engine room of reality. Yeah. I think that form of the lore is it's not a win. It's not really what Warcraft as a fantasy setting really, I think, should be. Warcraft can be like a fantasy sci-fi, leaning more in the fantasy. That's what TBC was.
Yep.
But it's like this. We're starting to get iffy. We're starting to really diverge from the original teams. Really, the things that they were doing. This is way further beyond what the Titans would have felt like in the game, and they do risk just kind of jumping away from what the players are used to and enjoy.
Yeah.